Hey guys. Tonight we're climbing into the worn leather boots of a World War II fighter pilot. You're young, barely old enough to shave properly, and it's early. Too early. The sky outside your barracks window is that indecisive gray. Not quite dawn, not quite night. Fog clings to the edges of the runway like a ghost that hasn't made up its mind yet. The air is damp and faintly metallic. The way it always is near machinery and distant rain. You swing your legs out of bed and wince as your feet hit the cold floor. The socks you left by the radiator are still damp. Typical. Your joints creak like an old bike chain as you dress in layers, wool, leather, canvas. The uniform smells like smoke and tiredness. You wrap your fingers around a chipped enamel mug filled with strong, bitter tea. Still steaming. It tastes like ashes and adrenaline. And yet it's somehow comforting. Outside, the only light is a distant orange glow at the edge of the hangar. It feels like the world is holding its breath. You shuffle into the mess hall. Boots thudding softly on the wooden floor. There's not much chatter, just the scrape of spoons in tin bowls. The occasional cough. Someone tries to crack a joke. But it falls flat. It's not that you're afraid. Not exactly. It's that you don't know if you'll be afraid once the sun is up and your name is on the board. Your body knows what's coming before your mind does. Your hands tremble slightly. Not from cold but anticipation. Like violin strings pulled too tight. The breakfast is standard, powdered eggs. Toast with more air than bread. A slice of something that was once bacon in another life. You chew mechanically. You try to imagine something else, pancakes, maple syrup, the smell of your mom's kitchen, but all you get is the sharp, greasy bite of military rations and the rustle of paper orders. Outside, the fog thickens, heavy and wet. It wraps around the base like wool. You catch your reflection in the fogged-up window, pale, a little hollow-eyed, cap slightly crooked. That same scratchy tunic. That same stubborn cowlick. You could be anyone. But this morning, you're a pilot. At least on paper. You head back to your bunk and sit on the edge. Fingers drumming your knee. One of your mates, Tomlinson, mumbles something about a dream where he was shot down but didn't die, he just kept falling. You nod but say nothing. Dreams don't have the courtesy of making sense anymore. Yours are all static and wind. There's a letter tucked into your inside pocket. You haven't opened it yet. You know who it's from, her writing slants like it's leaning in to whisper. But you can't bring yourself to read it. Not today. Not yet. The sky starts to blush just barely pink along the edge. That cursed in-between moment where the day decides what kind of story it wants to be. You lace your boots tighter. Even though your ankle still aches from that bad landing last month. The cold seeps through the seams. Makes your toes stiff. Your body's already trying to prepare, tightening your gut. Thinning your breath. Trying to save energy for whatever's next. There's a bell. Not loud. Just enough to make every head turn. One of the officers walks in, clipboard in hand. Cap too stiff, and everyone sits a little straighter. You haven't even been briefed yet. But your pulse is already doing laps in your chest. You roll your shoulders like that'll help. Like maybe you can shake off the fear before it settles. And yet, beneath all of that, there's something else. A strange hum just below your ribs. Not quite excitement. Not quite pride. More like inevitability. Like the feeling when you're climbing the first hill of a roller coaster and can't stop it even if you tried. You stand slowly, stretch your back, take one last sip of the lukewarm tea. Outside, the fog is thinning, the tarmac glistens faintly, almost inviting. You step out into the cold, the door creaking behind you. The air smells sharper now, like oil and purpose. You squint into the gray and see the faint silhouette of your Spitfire. It's waiting. Your breath ghosts in front of you. And your gloves squeak as you flex your fingers. It's time, and whether you survive the day or not, the sky isn't going to wait. Because just beyond the mist, someone's already rolling out a map. And just as your boots meet the path to the briefing room, your shoulders square up on their own. You're not just walking. You're being pulled forward, by duty, by fate, maybe even by history. The briefing room smells like stale smoke, wet wool, and something faintly sour, probably the corporal's socks. You shuffle in with the others, shoulders brushing, boots tracking in a faint trail of wet grit. The windows are fogged, and someone's trying to clear a patch with the edge of their sleeve. But it's hopeless. Outside, the sky's still low and bruised. But inside, the lights buzz faintly yellow and the room hums with quiet tension. A long table stretches across the front of the room, covered in maps weighed down by ashtrays and metal mugs. There's a chalkboard behind it, half erased from yesterday's debriefing, and someone's just started to write today's target. Chalk squeaks as it drags across the black surface, and you watch the letters appear like ghosts. Channel, convoy support. You exhale, not sure whether that's relief or worry. At least it's not Berlin. But convoys mean timing, fuel stress, and a high chance of running into enemy aircraft. You tug at your collar and feel the familiar rub of that same scratchy tunic. Every pilot seems to wear one with a slightly different stain pattern. Like military camouflage by accident. The squadron leader steps up. He's young, but somehow looks older than time. His voice is calm, clipped, but not cold. He points at a cluster of X's marked on the map. Lines drawn from your airfield in looping arcs toward the channel. His finger taps, tap, 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 along a convoy's projected course. The Royal Navy is moving fuel and ammunition. Your job is to cover the route, fly above it, and deter engagement. That's officer speak for shoot at anything that shoots first. Someone cracks a knuckle too loudly. A chair creaks like it's trying to protest. The only other sound is the occasional scribble of a pencil in someone's pocket notebook. You don't write anything down. You know the drill by heart. You've flown similar routes before, though no two missions ever feel quite the same. Then comes the usual checklist. Fuel. Full. Ammo. Full. Altitude. Medium climb. Switch to high depending on cloud cover. Formation. Delta pattern. Radio. Stay on frequency. But if you lose contact, well, you already know how that story ends. The leader pauses just a second too long after that last note. You can almost feel the room lean forward and freeze at the same time. And then, just like that, the moment breaks. He claps his hands softly, more habit than enthusiasm, and says, "All right, lads, you've got 20. People start to rise, some slower than others. You sit a moment longer. Eyes on the chalkboard. Some historians still argue whether the briefings were meant more to inform or simply to keep pilots from panicking. Either way, they work, kind of. Your mind is full now. And fear has less room to wriggle. As you step into the corridor, the chalk smell clings to your sleeves. You pass a small pinboard littered with notices, half of them out of date. There's a crooked flyer about venereal disease. A list of call signs. Someone's pinned a sketch of a pin-up girl riding a bomb like it's a horse. Morbid, but oddly cheery. You reach for your gloves again. Not to put them on yet. Just to feel them in your hand. The weight is reassuring. Like remembering your house key is still in your pocket. Outside, the fog is lifting. The world feels a bit sharper. More in focus. You can see the outlines of the other pilots now. Some smoking. Some pacing. One or two with heads leaned back against the hangar wall. Eyes closed as if dreaming of being anywhere else. You watch the clouds move overhead. Soft and ragged like wool torn in a rush. Your breath rises again. Visible this time. And it reminds you of the steam from that mug of tea earlier. A lorry rattles past, backfiring with a sharp bang that makes someone flinch. You don't. Your nerves have recalibrated. Instead, your stomach growls, protesting breakfast's lack of substance. You pat it gently, like a child asking it to be patient. The mechanics are already moving. You hear the clang of tools, the hiss of air, the chatter of men speaking a language only engine crews understand. Someone calls out your plane's number. And you nod, though they weren't really asking. Your Spitfire is being wheeled into position. And there it is again. That hum in your chest. It's not fear anymore. Not quite. It's focus. Or maybe resignation. Like the feeling you get just before diving into a cold river. The knowing. The commitment. You glance once more back at the chalkboard through the window. The letters are fading again. Blurred by condensation and time. But the course is set. And your name's on the sortie list. There's no backing out now. Not without explaining yourself to your crew. Not without the unbearable weight of someone else taking your place. And just as the sun pierces the edge of a cloud and lights up a sliver of runway, you catch the faintest shimmer on the surface of your wing. Just enough to make the world feel real and solid. And just like that, your mind shifts forward. Because the next step isn't theory. It's action. And the beast is waiting. Engines already whispering their first growl. You pull on your flight suit one layer at a time. Each buckle and strap another small ritual in the slow march toward the sky. The canvas is stiff from yesterday's sweat. The zipper's reluctant. It smells like burnt oil and time. You feel like a soldier and a scarecrow at the same time, bulky, clumsy, and oddly vulnerable under all that gear. The gloves go on last. They're thick, fingered like medieval gauntlets, and worn soft at the edges. You flex your fingers. They creak faintly. You tell yourself it's the leather. Not your knuckles. Not your nerves. Around you, others are suiting up too. The same motions mirrored with small personal variations. Tomlinson double-checks his watch like it holds more hope than minutes. Griggs ties a bit of string around his lucky coin. Then tucks it down his boot. You've never asked why. It feels like bad luck to ask about good luck. The parachute is hefted up by a mechanic with arms like railway ties. He slaps it into your back and helps clip it on. It's heavy and awkward. More like strapping a stubborn toddler to your spine than a life-saving device. Just in case, the mechanic mutters, same as always, and you nod. Just in case. You do a final pat down. Maps in your pocket. Radio check. Oxygen mask hanging like a drooping flower from your shoulder. The plane looms just beyond the edge of the tarmac. Its nose tilted up slightly like it's sniffing the wind for danger. The propeller twitches once, idle, before roaring to life in a deep, bone-rattling cough. Your boots echo on the metal steps as you climb up. The fuselage is still cold to the touch. Even in the soft morning sun, you duck into the cockpit. The seat hugging you in all the wrong ways, tight at the hips, loose at the shoulders, and somehow still comforting. Like slipping into an argument you've had a dozen times before. You run your checks out loud. More for rhythm than recollection. Dials flick. Levers click. The stick sits between your knees like a stubborn mule. And you give it a little nudge just to feel it push back. A few switches offer small sparks of reassurance. Fuel, good. Flaps, set. Altimeter, steady. You squint through the canopy. Now fogging slightly with your breath. And swipe it with your glove. The ground crew gives you a thumbs up. You return it, though yours is shakier. They move away, waving casually. But you don't miss the way one of them glances back twice. It's always like that, no matter how many flights. No matter how many returns. It's never casual. Not really. The radio crackles. Flight 1. Prepare to taxi. Your heart gives one slow, deliberate thud, as if reminding you it's still on duty. You release the brake and feel the aircraft nudge forward like a bull testing a fence. The tarmac is uneven, peppered with old oil stains and loose grit. Your wheels crunch forward slowly, lining up behind the others. You glance left, then right. The other pilots are visible through their canopies, one tapping the dash, another already mouthing something like a prayer. And here it is again. That tug in your chest. Not dread, not quite, more like gravity, but upside down, like the world is pulling you up instead of down. And your body hasn't gotten used to that kind of betrayal yet. You reach for your mask, pull it up over your face. The rubber smells faintly of mint. Oddly enough, some long-gone cleaner or hand soap from another life. Your breath huffs into it rhythmically. Warm, steady. You close your eyes for half a beat and listen to the engine's idle hum. It's low and hungry, like a dog waiting to be unleashed. From the control tower, a green flare arcs up into the sky. Go. Throttle up. The nose dips slightly. The engine howls with purpose. You're pushed back in your seat, not violently, but insistently, like a firm hand guiding you forward. The wheels bump once, then again, then lift. You're airborne. The ground drops away like it's bored with your weight. And for a moment, just a moment, it's quiet. No wind, no flak, no enemy. Just the low hum of your plane and the soft sigh of clouds brushing past your wings. You feel your shoulders relax a fraction. You're up. From here, the world looks like a watercolor. Fields become squares of pale green and beige. Rivers shimmer like silver thread pulled across linen. Villages are toy blocks. And roads curl like ribbons across an old coat. You glance at your hands. They're steady now. Gloved. Moving with intention. The muscle memory has taken over. And your brain is trailing behind like a sleepy dog on a leash. You're not scared. You're not brave either. You're just doing. And as you rise higher, the air thinning, the gauge is steady, a small part of you starts to believe, maybe today, you'll just fly and return. Maybe today is just clouds and wind. But of course, just as your breathing evens out, a small voice in your headset cuts through the hum. Keep your eyes open. Flag near Dieppe. And just like that, the sky tightens around you again. The tarmac falls away behind you, shrinking into a gray thread stitched through the English countryside. Your Spitfire purrs beneath you, not smooth like silk, but insistent, like a cat that's had too much caffeine. You adjust the stick slightly. Feel the plane respond. A gentle sway that reminds you just how light you are up here. Light, and very, very breakable. Below, hedgerows knit together fields like a grandmother's quilt. Cows look like pebbles. Villages, like spilled sugar cubes. But your eyes aren't on the ground anymore. You're heading toward the edge of the map, where familiar names become tension-filled placeholders. Dieppe, Calais, the Channel. The line between safety and story. Your formation is tight. Wings glint in the pale sunlight. Just a few yards apart, you can see the helmeted head of Tomlinson in the lead. He waggles his wings once. You waggle back. This is how you say I'm still here without saying anything. The clouds thicken as you gain altitude. They rise like walls, soft but impenetrable. Some are wispy and high. Some dense and grumpy looking. One looms ahead, gray with a blue underbelly, as though it swallowed a thunderstorm and hasn't decided whether to spit it out. You dive slightly beneath it, the world dimming as you slide into the shadow. The cockpit feels tighter now, the air heavier. The engine hums louder here. Maybe it's echo, or maybe it's your heart adding percussion. Your breath fogs your mask slightly, and you wipe it with a gloved knuckle. The glass is smeared now. But what can you do? You squint ahead, eyes darting left, right, skyward. The channel appears in pieces, thin strips of silver, shimmering like scales on some great sleeping beast. You don't think about what's beneath that water. You don't think about how cold it would be if the engine quit. Or if you were hit. You don't. You try to focus instead on the good. The Spitfire, for example. It's one of the best machines ever built. Some say it turns as tightly as a bicycle in an alley. Some say it's the only thing standing between the island and invasion. What no one tells you is how loud it is, or how cramped, or how alive it feels. As though the machine itself has a heartbeat and is simply tolerating your presence. You check your instruments. RPMs steady. Oil pressures holding. Fuel looks fine, though historians still argue whether the gauges were ever truly reliable. There's a saying among pilots: if it's reading 0, you're already dead. You hear a creak, not from the engine, from you. Your knees ache, your back stiffens. The straps dig into your chest in that familiar way. Like they're trying to hold you in two places at once, here and not here. Then, just ahead, a glint, a single, too shiny speck against the soft cloud belly. You blink, it's gone. Then there it is again, metal. Moving, reflecting light like a coin flicked into a fountain. You squeeze the stick. Your brain shifts gears without your permission. Your eyes sharpen. Your breathing slows. You speak into the radio. Soft but clear. Bogey. 10 o'clock high. Possibly more. No response yet. But now everyone's moving slightly tighter. You see the other Spitfires angled just a hair upward. Almost imperceptibly. Like birds preparing to arc. That same scratchy tunic suddenly feels 3 sizes too small. You shift your shoulders. The parachute pulls in all the wrong places. The oxygen tastes wrong. Your foot itches. The bogey becomes 2. Then 3. Then a loose scattering of dark specks. Like cigarette ash on a white sheet. German fighters. Maybe. Or bombers with escort. You can't tell yet. You glance right. Tomlinson gives the signal, 2 fingers. 1 roll of the wrist. Split and regroup. That's when the breath you didn't know you were holding escapes. You bank left. The world tilts violently. Sky becomes ground. Then sky again. Your stomach floats for a second. Like the drop at the top of a roller coaster, and then the G-force settles in. Your neck pulls. Your ribs compress. Your jaw clenches on instinct. And yet, it's weirdly beautiful. The sun bursts through a tear in the cloud. Light floods the side of your canopy, turning the dull green of your dash into something golden. The enemy's planes are clearer now, sharp silhouettes cutting against the light. You count 4, maybe 5. Their formation is loose, sloppy. That could be good. Or it could mean they're not rookies. Just cocky. Your plane buzzes as you angle upward again. You're not close enough to fire yet, but close enough to see them scatter. Notice you. Close enough to wonder what they had for breakfast. Close enough to remember. Those are people. Young, tired, sweating people just like you. You tighten your gloves. The stick trembles slightly. And just as your finger hovers near the trigger, just as you're lining up the shot, one of them peels away. Fast and sharp. A decoy? No time to wonder. Because you're in the sky now, not flying, but dancing. And your partner is someone who wants you dead. The sky becomes chaos. You dive into it headfirst, no hesitation. No pause. Just instinct and muscle memory. Your Spitfire pitches forward, and your stomach lurches upward as if it's trying to abandon ship. The engine roars. Deeper now. Guttural. The wind claws at the canopy. Your teeth rattle with the force of it. The enemy fighter twists to your left, quick, nimble, too confident. You follow, banking hard, your wings carving an arc through the cloud-washed air. The G-force pins you to your seat. Your spine compresses. Your knees scream in protest. You grunt, just a short, involuntary sound, but it helps you stay awake. Stay sharp. A bead of sweat slips down your temple, caught inside the oxygen mask. It itches. You ignore it. He's fast. Whoever he is. His tail jerks left, then right, weaving in a lazy zigzag meant to throw off your aim. You ease the stick, breathe out slow, and squeeze the trigger. Nothing. No hit, no spark, just the click of the gun button and the soft, sarcastic hum of fate. You pull up, throttle back slightly, and circle wide. He doesn't chase. He's smart. He vanishes into a streak of cloud. You're left with nothing but the empty stretch of sky and the smell of cordite lingering in your nose. Behind you, a radio crackles. Griggs, check your 6. You spin your head left. There, just above the horizon, a friendly spit trailing smoke like a charcoal ribbon. You don't know if he's hit or just scared. You don't get a chance to find out. Because someone's on your 6 now. You feel it before you see it. Your whole body tenses. You yank the stick right. Hard. The wings scream. The frame shudders like it might rattle itself apart. You drop altitude fast. The sky tilting sideways as you spiral into a dive. Your ears pop. The wind whines. Your gloves slip slightly on the stick and you curse under your breath. Bullets whistle past the canopy. Tiny, angry hornets. Close. You jerk the stick back up. The plane protests, groaning like a tired dog being dragged for a walk. You level out, gain speed, and jink left. Another burst flashes past your right wing. That was close, closer than you want to admit. Your chest aches, but it's not from impact. It's from the way you're clenching every part of yourself like you're trying not to spill. Historians still argue whether dogfights were more about skill or luck. Right now, luck seems like the only thing between you and a smoking crater in the French countryside. You pull into a climbing turn. Force the engine to groan with effort. The Spitfire climbs like a falcon. Sharp and proud. You know your pursuer can't follow that steep angle for long. You level again. Flip around. And now you're the one behind. It's him, the one who took a shot. His fuselage is painted black, with streaks of yellow along the tail. You squint. You line up. You breathe. This time, the guns fire. A rattle like a typewriter with a grudge. Tracers light the air in short, angry bursts. You see one clip the enemy wing. Just a nick. Enough. He jerks left, panic cutting through his smooth rhythm. You chase. He dives. You follow. And just like that, it's a ballet. You roll left, then invert. Your stomach does a flip but your hands are steady. The world spins into abstract color, cloud. Green, sun, blur, cloud again. Your body has disappeared into the machine now. You are engine and wing. Throttle and rage. You are the plane. A glimpse, he's still diving. Too steep. Then a flash. He pulls up too hard. His wing tears. Just a flicker. You see it. You know what it means. The plane wobbles. He doesn't eject. Maybe he can't. You watch it fall, black smoke. A streak of fire. The whimpering hiss of gravity finishing what war began. You don't cheer. You don't feel relief. You feel tired. And strangely, cold. You level off again. The sky is calmer now. As if it's trying to pretend nothing happened. Your breath hitches inside the mask. You shake your head once. Like you're trying to clear water from your ears. Then you spot Tomlinson again. He's circling above. One wing dipped low in greeting. You join him. Form up side by side. Neither of you speaks. Your mouth is dry. Your ribs ache. Your hands feel bruised from gripping the stick. Your ears are ringing, not from impact, but from the sheer volume of the engine screaming its loyalty. Below, the channel stretches like tinfoil in the sun. Calm, flat, indifferent. And above, the sky is once again a shade of blue that dares you to believe it was always peaceful. But your body remembers. The creak in your knees. The sweat down your back. The smell of gunpowder in your lungs. And just as you settle back into formation, trying to steady your breath, a faint blip appears on the edge of your vision again. Because in war, peace is just an intermission. Your hands are still vibrating. Even though the guns have long gone silent. You flex your fingers on the stick, trying to shake out the adrenaline like water from gloves. It doesn't help much. The sky has quieted. The chaos has moved somewhere else. Like thunder rolling off to disturb another town. Tomlinson waggles his wings again. A silent, "You alright?" You tip yours in reply, still flying. It's enough. You bank west now. Out of the kill zone. The flight path home isn't direct. It never is. You zigzag slightly, keeping altitude and scanning the horizon for more trouble. But nothing comes. Just clouds again, fat. Lazy ones this time, drifting like cream in cold coffee. They seem harmless now, but earlier they were hiding fighters with itchy trigger fingers. Funny how quickly you lose trust in the sky. You slip beneath one, and the temperature drops. Instantly. The cold wraps around your ankles and creeps into your spine. You shiver despite the layers. The gloves. The helmet. The chill reminds you that you're 15,000 feet above the earth in a flying metal box with only a prayer and a few bolts holding it all together. The canopy fogs a little from your breath. You wipe it with your glove again. But it only smears. You sigh and give up. The view's not great anyway, just distant ocean. A coastline that refuses to get any closer. And occasional flashes of sunlight that make your goggles flare white. You glance down at your boots. At the scuffed floor panel between your feet. There's a tiny scratch in the metal shaped like a bent arrow. It's always been there. You stare at it too long. Maybe trying to make it mean something. Like maybe it's pointing home. Then, for the first time in nearly an hour, the radio crackles, not with panic. Not with warning. Just a calm voice. Flight 1. Return to base. All clear. Those words carry a weight they shouldn't. You've heard them before. But today, they sound suspicious. Like a dream that ends just before the monster shows up. You respond. Copy. Heading home. Your voice cracks slightly. And you hope no one noticed. You clear your throat and shift in your seat. The parachute straps bite into your collarbone. The smell of fuel and sweat has saturated the cockpit so completely it feels like another presence. Like someone else is flying with you. Watching. Listening. You ease the throttle back slightly. Let the Spitfire settle into a smoother hum. You're still scanning, out of habit now more than fear. But the tension in your jaw is loosening. You roll your shoulders, and they crack like tree branches in frost. Your body is gently reminding you that it prefers the ground. Somewhere to your left, Griggs limps back into formation. His wings patched with soot. A shallow gouge trailing smoke. But he's up. He's flying. You nod even though he can't see you. Far below, ships cut across the channel in slow lines. Like ants dragging breadcrumbs. You wonder what it feels like down there, on deck. Watching the sky for friendly shapes and listening for buzz bombs. Maybe they envy you. Maybe they think flying means freedom. You'd laugh if your throat weren't so dry. The coastline appears like a bruise on the horizon. Soft brown, then green. England, home-ish. You feel a strange sensation, a mix of guilt and gratitude. Not everyone gets to see that shoreline again. Not everyone makes it through their first real dogfight. There's a saying someone pinned above the latrine. If you're reading this, you're lucky. If you're not, it doesn't matter. You didn't think it was funny then. You still don't. But today, maybe it's true. The airfield comes into view at last. Runways crisscrossed like stitched scars. Tiny matchbox buildings. The old windsock flapping like it's bored out of its mind. You radio in. Get clearance. Your approach is smooth. Mostly. A little wobble on descent. Your knees are useless now. Rubbery and stiff. The tires hit the tarmac with a screech. Too loud. And the whole plane jolts like it's offended you brought it back down to earth. But you're down. You're rolling. Slowing. You made it. The hangar doors are open. Mechanics wait with tools in hand. One of them waves. Another jogs alongside the wing as you taxi in. You pop the canopy. Cold air rushes in, and you inhale like you've been holding your breath for hours. Maybe you have. You kill the engine. Silence. It rings in your ears. You take off your gloves. Your hands are damp and pale, trembling slightly. The adrenaline is crashing now, retreating like a wave, leaving seaweed and goosebumps behind. You climb down the steps slowly. A mechanic grabs your elbow to steady you, but you shake your head. You want to walk on your own. Boots hit the ground, solid, real, and just as your creaking knees straighten and the hangar door yawns wider to let you in, the next sortie roster is already being pinned to the board. Because even in moments of silence, the war never really stops breathing. The ground feels suspiciously steady, too still, like it's trying to lull you into thinking everything's fine now. That your knees aren't shaking. That your spine isn't one hard sneeze away from collapse. You walk toward the mess hall with the slow, deliberate pace of someone pretending their body isn't full of leftover adrenaline and silent prayers. You pass the repair crews. They're already swarming the planes like bees over open flowers. Voices raised in mechanic shorthand, grumbles, whistles, clangs. One of them, a short bloke with grease on his cheek, pats your wing gently like he's tucking it in for a nap. You murmur a soft thanks and keep walking. Inside, the mess hall is warm. Sort of. It's drafty and smells like boiled cabbage and cigarette smoke. But after the cockpit, it's heaven. The air's thick with chatter, low, mumbling, with the occasional laugh that sounds just a bit too loud. Relief always comes in awkward bursts. You grab a tray, though your stomach's not really interested. There's stew tonight. Or something that used to be stew in another century. It wobbles slightly as you carry it to a corner table. Tomlinson sits across from you, helmet off, hair mashed like a bird's nest. He grins faintly. You look like you wrestled a chimney. You grunt a reply. That's all the energy you've got. The spoon feels too heavy. Your wrist aches as you lift it. The stew is salty and bland, but warm. You chew slowly, trying to come down from the high without falling apart. It's like trying to land a plane with no landing gear, graceful from the outside, painful where no one can see. There's a bulletin board behind Tomlinson's head. Names are listed there. Some are underlined in red. Some have little ticks next to them. One is missing. You stare at the space where that name used to be. It's not yours. Not this time. But you feel it like a bruise on your ribs anyway. He was young, a rookie. Probably still carried a photo in his jacket. Probably had plans for what he'd do when it was all over. A farm, a girl, maybe a dog. You spoon more stew. It doesn't help. Someone starts a card game at the next table. The shuffling sounds too crisp. Forced. You hear laughter that sounds too fast. Too eager. The kind of laughter that wants to outrun a memory. A fringe memory drifts in, the taste of orange marmalade on toast. Your mum used to slice it thin, press it flat. It's funny the things that sneak back in when your body is exhausted and your mind is off leash. You rub your temples, feel the indent where your headset pressed all day. There's a dull ache behind your eyes, like they've been holding in tears but forgot why. Across the room, Griggs limps in, his arms bandaged, but he's upright. People clap softly. It's polite, not celebration, more like acknowledgement that, against odds and logic, he's still here. He smiles, awkwardly, and shrugs one shoulder. Wingtip's gone, he says, like he's misplaced a sock. Someone hands him a tray. He sits beside you and immediately spoons up something gray and lukewarm without hesitation. That's the kind of hunger that comes from narrowly escaping your own funeral. Outside, dusk is spreading across the sky like ink spilled in water. The mess hall windows fog up slightly, catching candlelight and turning it to gold. You stare at your reflection. You look older, not in the face, but in the way your shoulders droop. In the new line beside your mouth. In the way your eyes blink slower than they used to. Tomlinson taps his spoon twice against his mug. Heard they might send us north next week. Airfield's colder. But the stews apparently got meat. You nod. Non-committal. Another voice nearby pipes up. Meat's just propaganda. They laugh again. The same brittle laugh. This time, you join in. Just a little. The warmth in the room is growing. Or maybe it's just your body giving up the fight. You feel heavier now. But in a good way. Like a coat taken off and draped around your shoulders. Your knees stop buzzing. Your jaw unclenches. And just as you lift the last spoonful of stew, someone starts humming near the corner stove. It's tuneless, off-key, but oddly soothing. The mess hall is full now. Voices, steam, the scraping of metal cutlery. There's comfort in routine, even if the routine includes ghosts. And just when the warmth starts to feel like rest, not just recovery, someone stands and clears their throat. The new sortie list has just been posted. You don't get up right away. No one does. The moment that sheet of paper is pinned to the board, a quiet dread settles over the mess hall. It's not fear. Exactly. It's more like weather, expected, inevitable, and always colder than forecast. You sit with your spoon halfway to your mouth. The stew's gone lukewarm, but you don't notice. You're staring at the back of the room, where the bulletin board stands crooked. A single thumbtack barely keeping the corner from peeling away. Griggs glances at you. You think we're on it? You exhale slowly. Does it ever matter what we think? He shrugs. Tomlinson mutters something about, should have transferred to ground crew when I had the chance, and then hauls himself up with a grunt and a quiet clatter of his tray. You follow. Because you have to. The line of pilots moves toward the board like moths to a very official, very grim flame. You can feel the air around it change, quieter, heavier. The kind of silence where hope and disappointment elbow each other like siblings. You scan the list. Slowly. There it is. Your call sign. Plain. Unadorned. Tomorrow morning. Briefing at 5. Target. Convoy escort. Again. You nod once. More to yourself than anyone else. Griggs is on it too. Tomlinson isn't. He sees your glance and gives a small fist pump. Then instantly looks guilty for doing it. You step back from the board. The warmth from the mess hall feels thinner now. Someone drops a fork. No one picks it up. Later, in the barracks, you peel off your gear in slow, tired layers. The flight suit slumps over a chair like a discarded skin. Your undershirt is damp with stale sweat in the shape of fear. You sit on the edge of your cot, fingers laced, elbows on knees. There's a letter on the nightstand again. You pick it up. Same handwriting, soft slant, ink slightly smudged. You tear it open, carefully, like it might explode. She writes about the garden. How the lilacs have finally bloomed. How your father's still terrible at pruning roses. She says your sister is learning to bake bread and ruined the first loaf but kept smiling anyway. She doesn't ask how you're doing. She knows you can't answer truthfully. But she says, we're all waiting for you. Just so you know, even the dog, especially the dog. You read it twice, then fold it up and slip it into your jacket. Right over your heart. Outside, the bass is settling in for the night. A radio plays somewhere in the distance, too soft to hear the song. Just the tinny echo of something vaguely hopeful. Boots scuff past your window. A match flares briefly. Someone's lighting a cigarette, or maybe just trying to see their own breath. You lie back on the thin mattress. It smells of soap and old paper. You stare at the ceiling. The water stain over your bunk looks like a horse. Or a dragon. Or maybe it's just a shape. Your eyes drift. Your limbs grow heavy. And just when you think you might drift into actual sleep, it happens. The siren. It starts low, a tremble, a suggestion, and then rises in pitch like a question you don't want to answer. You sit up. So does everyone else. No panic. Just movement. Like gears turning. Boots hit the floor. Jackets shrugged on. Helmets grabbed. You move without thought now. Your body already knows the choreography. You burst into the night. Air cold and sour with tension. The searchlights swing wildly across the sky, slicing the dark into uneven wedges. Somewhere above, engines drone, a low, ominous hum that makes your chest tighten. Anti-aircraft guns bark from the hill. The sound is sharp, like the sky cracking in half. You see the first flicker of a bomb explode over the distant runway. Far enough not to shake you. Close enough to remind you it could. You duck behind a sandbag wall. Tomlinson dives next to you. Breathless. Every bloody time I close my eyes. He mutters. The sky flashes again. Then again. Like angry lightning made of metal and fire. The air smells like burnt rubber and fear. You crouch lower. Your heart knocking at your ribs like it's trying to find the exit. Your boots are wet again. Always with the wet boots. A bomb lands near the hangar, too close. The ground jumps under you. Dust rains down. Your ears ring. You blink and cough and wait. Silence. Then a distant siren again, descending this time. The all clear. You exhale. Didn't even know you were holding your breath. Tomlinson flops backward into the dirt. This war owes me at least 10 hours of sleep. You laugh. Just once. It escapes like a hiccup. You look at the hangar. It's still there. Mostly. One corner smokes. The planes survived. Some of them. Back in the barracks. You pull off your jacket again. This time. Slower. The adrenaline is gone. You feel hollow. Like someone scooped out your insides and replaced them with fog. You crawl under the blanket. The mattress creaks. You close your eyes. And just before sleep takes you, your hand reaches up and rests briefly over your jacket pocket, over the letter. Just to make sure it's still there. Morning finds you in pieces. Not broken, just scattered. Like someone took you apart in the night and only had time to put the essentials back together. You wake before the bell. Eyes dry. Mouth sticky. The cot feels flatter than usual. Your back knotted like tangled rope. You lie still for a minute. Listening. There's a quiet that only comes before orders. Before briefings. The kind of quiet where the world hasn't decided what kind of day it will be yet. Your breath is the only sound in the room. The occasional sniffle or creaking mattress from your bunkmates lets you know you're not the only one awake. Pretending not to be. You sit up slowly. Your joints protest. Your legs swing off the bed like they're hung on rusted hinges. The cold floor bites at your feet even through thick socks. That same smell, canvas, oil, and sleep, lingers in the air. You stretch. And your back pops. A sound far too loud in the stillness. There's a ritual to it all now. You wash your face in the tin basin. Using water that seems to resent its own existence. You towel off with something that might once have been soft. Back before the war, you comb your hair by muscle memory more than vanity. There's nothing romantic about it. This isn't a movie. This is just what you do when you're trying not to think. You dress. Tunic. Trousers. Flight boots. That same scratchy uniform that feels stitched with exhaustion. You pull the letter from your jacket and tuck it into the inner pocket again. Like armor. Like maybe words can stop bullets. The mess hall is already half full by the time you arrive. Conversations are hushed. Clipped. Forks clink. Spoons scrape. You nod to Griggs, who's already halfway through something vaguely oatmeal-like. His eyes are shadowed. You know that look. He didn't sleep either. Tomlinson wanders in late, hair unkempt, muttering about dreams of flying without an engine. You both smile. Just barely. Ready? He asks. Always. You lie. The briefing room smells the same, chalk. Damp wool. Nerves. The map's been refreshed. Clean lines drawn in tight arcs across northern France. Targets are circled in red. The convoy's course is slightly altered. Someone jokes it's because the last one got nibbled. No one laughs. You're flying high escort today. That means you hover above the action, scanning the sky for enemy fighters before they can descend like wolves. It's a good assignment. Relatively speaking, still dangerous, but better than low-altitude strafing runs. You nod along as the commander speaks. You already know most of it. The real mission is always the same: stay alive. Don't lose focus. Watch each other's backs. Then comes the list. Names, call signs, assignments. Yours is second. You expected that. You try not to think about what that means. Whether it's confidence in your skill or just rotation. Whether you're being trusted or tested. After the briefing, you gear up again. It's all so mechanical now: straps, buckles, checklist, shuffle. You don't even feel the weight of the parachute anymore. Not because it's light, but because the fear has filled your limbs more completely. The Spitfire waits outside like a loyal dog. Nose angled toward the clouds. Propeller idle. Tail twitching. You climb in slowly. Each motion deliberate, as if slowness could delay fate. Mechanics fuss over the engine. One of them gives you a thumbs up. You nod. You don't recognize him. New face. That feels wrong. Somehow. The engine coughs to life. That familiar sound, like thunder wrapped in velvet, rolls over you. You breathe through it. Let it fill your chest. The throttle responds with a growl. You taxi into line behind the others. The field shimmers with frost, catching morning light like broken glass. The tower flares green. You push forward. Wheels bump once, twice. Then you're airborne again. The ground tilts, flattens, fades. The air gets thinner. The cockpit gets louder. Your heart remembers its place in your chest. Up here, you're weightless. Not in a good way. Not like swimming. More like drifting without consent. Clouds pass by like thoughts, thick, gray, uncertain. You rise above them. The channel gleams below, thin and silver. You find your formation. Griggs to your left. Tomlinson off your wing. Their planes are solid, sharp, reliable. You check your instruments. All green. You check the sky. Then you wait. This is the worst part. The waiting. The nothing. The knowing that something will come. And just as your hands start to relax, just as the horizon starts to blur into routine, the radio crackles. Contact. 11 o'clock. 3 high. Your hands tense again. The stick shudders as you nudge left. Gaining height. Your mouth goes dry. Your neck stiffens. You squint into the light. And there they are. Just dots. For now. Distant. Small. But moving fast. You exhale once. Slowly. And tighten your gloves. Because the quiet's over. The dots grow quickly. Too quickly. At first they're just specks in the blue. Like dust you forgot to blink away. Then they're shapes, dark wings. Bulbous cockpits. Slashing profiles. You count them without meaning to. 4. No, 5. Maybe more behind the clouds. Hard to tell. But definitely more than you'd like. Messerschmitts. Tomlinson mutters over the radio. They always turn up when you're trying to enjoy the view. You don't respond. Your jaws clenched too tight. Your grip on the stick firm. But not panicked. Not yet. Griggs moves into position off your left. You glance across. He gives you a little nod. Just a tilt of the helmet. That's the thing about flying in war. Everything gets smaller. Words, gestures, expectations. A nod becomes a lifeline. You begin the climb. Slow, steady, textbook. Altitude is your friend, at least until it turns against you. The Spitfire hums like a cat that's just spotted a bird. The engine pitch rises, a smooth crescendo, and the frame trembles slightly with anticipation. The enemy is splitting formation. 2 move low, 3 stay high. You and your wingman track the high ones. Let the others dance with the Navy's flag below. Your hands start to sweat inside your gloves. Not fear. Not yet. Just readiness. Like a sprinter in the second before the starting gun. You can feel your pulse in your fingertips. The distance closes. Fast. You feel it in your chest before you see it, something shifts. A pressure drop. A flicker of static in your gut. Then the lead Messerschmitt dives. Everything happens at once. You roll hard right. Griggs cuts left. Tomlinson climbs. You yank the stick and the plane obeys like a wild horse just barely broken. Wind screams past your canopy. The world tilts sideways. Bullets flash through the air behind you, silver stitches on a blue curtain. You don't look back. Instead, you dive, drop low, spin, a flick of the wrist and you level just behind one of the German fighters. He's weaving, but not fast enough. You squeeze the trigger. Guns chitter. Tracers spit forward. A puff of smoke. A spark. A wingtip shivers. Then he jerks away, spiraling. You don't follow. There's no time to finish it. Another's behind you now. You feel it. The way your spine tightens. The way your breath stutters. You invert. The plane rolls over like a slow somersault. The horizon flips. Your stomach drops. You're upside down now, watching the ground above you. The sky below. The laws of nature are only suggestions up here. You pull up, down, and the world lurches back into place. The Messerschmitt overshoots. Can't match the turn. You climb again, searching for Tomlinson. There he is, banking left, engine trailing smoke. You dive toward him, clearing his tail just in time. A German fighter peels away under your burst of fire. You don't think you hit him. Doesn't matter. He leaves. Thanks. Tomlinson breathes. That's all he says. Above, Griggs is still in the mix. Chasing one, dodging another. It's like trying to play chess during a storm, with half the pieces on fire. You line up for another shot. This time, you miss. But he notices. He pulls up. Steep. You follow. Climbing into the sun, your goggles flare. Everything turns gold and white and then, black. He disappears. You blink. Wipe the lens. Nothing. Then, bam. A jolt. The canopy shakes. Not a hit. Just turbulence. But your heart leaps anyway. You level out. And suddenly, it's over. The sky clears. The enemy pulls away. Retreat. Maybe. Regroup. Maybe they're just bored. Maybe they've lost too many already. Hard to say. Historians still argue whether these smaller dogfights were strategic feints or just chaos given direction. You slow. Check your gauges. Fuel's down. Ammo low. Engine heat's climbing. The Spitfire purrs, but a little less smoothly. Like it's nursing a hangover. You glance around. Griggs? Still flying. Tomlinson? Trailing smoke, but steady. Your heart, still hammering, begins to soften. You shake your hands. The ache in your back blooms now that you're not too busy to feel it. Below, the channel glints again. You're above the convoy now. Ships cutting neat wakes through the water. Tiny dots of purpose. They probably never saw the fight. They probably don't know you were up here keeping watch. Dancing death into a temporary delay. You regroup. One by one, your wingmen fall into formation. The silence in the radio is almost respectful. No whoops of celebration. No victory laps. Just the steady hum of engines and breath. And just as the coast begins to grow beneath you again, you realize your gloves are damp all the way through. And you're smiling. Just a little. Not because you enjoyed it, but because, for now, you're still up here. And the earth hasn't taken you back yet. The letters are the hardest part. Not flying, not fighting, not even crashing, though you've come uncomfortably close. No, it's the letters that undo you, those quiet, still moments when the war becomes words. When the adrenaline fades and you're left with ink, paper, and everything you can't say. You're sitting at a wooden desk in a drafty barrack room that smells faintly of chalk, mud, and mildew. The rain taps on the tin roof like fingers drumming on a coffin. You just come back from patrol. Your flight suit's still damp in places. Your boots kicked off near the bed. You're tired, not in a sleepy way, but the kind of tired that sinks into your bones and rearranges them. Your body is sore in new places. Your mind keeps drifting back to a patch of sky where you think you saw someone go down. So, naturally, it's time to write. You open the drawer. There's a stack of thin, yellowed pages. You pull one out. The pen is stubborn. The nib bent from the last time you gripped it too tightly. You dip it into the ink bottle and hesitate. You always hesitate here. Because what do you say? You write to your sister first. She's 15, still full of that eager brightness that the world hasn't rung out yet. You start with a joke. Something about the breakfast being one shade grayer than the wall. You tell her the aircraft are loud. The sky is cold. And the mechanics all swear like sailors. You tell her the Spitfire engine sounds like a lion with a toothache. And your gloves smell like yesterday's stew. You do not tell her that Griggs almost didn't make it back yesterday. You do not mention that you saw smoke pouring from a parachute as it dropped toward the coast. You say, instead, that the clouds have been especially beautiful. You write to your mom next. You keep it short. She doesn't need details. She needs assurance. You tell her the base has warm tea. And you've been eating well. You say your commander is good. Strict but fair. You tell her she doesn't need to worry. You lie. But they're small lies. The good kind. The kind that make the world more bearable. Historians still debate whether soldiers wrote home to comfort their families or to comfort themselves. Probably both. A strange kind of therapy. Telling someone else that everything is fine. Just in case that makes it true. You sit back. Stretch your neck. The chair creaks like it's trying to complain louder than your knees. You look at the final sheet in the stack. Her letter. You haven't replied yet. You've read it 6 times. Carried it in your breast pocket until the crease wore thin. She wrote about the pub down the road and how it's still missing half a roof. But they're serving cider again. She told you your dog barked at a scarecrow and then refused to go outside for a day. She wrote, when this is over, I want to take you somewhere with no ceiling. Just sky. And no engines. You close your eyes. For a moment, you're there. The chair vanishes. The draft disappears. There's only sun on your back. Her laughter somewhere ahead of you. And grass brushing against your legs. You hold onto that image like it's oxygen. Then the wind rattles the window. You're back. You dip the pen again. You tell her you're fine. You don't tell her about the dream you had where the plane wouldn't pull up. You don't tell her you woke up with your hands clawed into the blanket like it was a control stick. You don't tell her that sometimes, when it's quiet, you can still hear the sound of wings tearing. You tell her about Tomlinson's bad singing in the mess hall. About the time a mechanic painted a mustache on the commander's photo. You tell her the sky is enormous. And the stars out here look closer. Brighter. You pause. Think about that. They do look closer. You sign off. Fold the letters carefully. You write her name slowly. Like saying it in your head. Like pressing it into something sacred. Then you sit back again. Outside, the rain has picked up. It taps the glass with soft insistence. Inside, the air is still. You hear a kettle boiling down the hall. Someone laughs, low, tired, not joyful but trying. You think about joining them. Then you don't. Instead, you reach into the drawer and pull out another blank page. Because there's always someone else to write to. Another family. Another name crossed off the roster. Another letter that will never get a reply. You stare at the page for a long time. Finally, you begin. To the family of Flight Officer Miles C. Barton. You pause again. You didn't know Barton well. Just a quiet lad from somewhere with hills and sheep and a strange way of pronouncing garage. But he played the harmonica at night sometimes. And he always cleaned the dust off his instruments twice. You write what you can. You say he was brave, calm, a steady flyer. You tell them he will be missed. You tell them what you wish someone would say about you. You fold the letter, seal it, and just as you reach for the envelope, a knock rattles the door. Tomlinson leans in. Orders just came in. We fly again at dawn. You nod. Right. He lingers in the doorway a second too long. Then, you all right? You pause. Consider the truth. Then you smile. Yeah, just writing. He nods once, gently, and disappears back into the hallway. You sit in the quiet for another minute. Then you blow gently on the ink to help it dry. Outside, the rain stops, and somewhere overhead, another plane rumbles faintly through the clouds, an echo, or a warning, or maybe just a reminder that even when you're grounded, you're never really still. The first siren wails just past midnight. It starts low and lonesome, like a lost animal calling out into the dark. Then it rises, sharp, shrill, unignorable. You're pulled from sleep instantly. Your body sits up before your mind catches up. Instincts kicking in like an old engine. Your boots are beside the bed, unlaced but waiting. Your jacket's already half on by the time you hear the second siren, joined by the distant thump of anti-aircraft guns. No time for questions. Outside, the sky is a bruise, dark blue fading to black, dotted with stars that look shocked to still be there. The searchlights slice upward like spears trying to hold up the heavens. You squint, eyes still adjusting. Somewhere above, bombers drone, low, heavy, patient. You run. The ground is slick with mud. Your boots squelch with every step. You pass other figures, some half-dressed, all rushing, all quiet. There's no shouting, no panic, just motion. Every man knows what to do by now. It's choreography carved by repetition, by fear, by nights like this. Your post is near the outer edge of the runway, beside a sandbag wall and an old corrugated metal shelter that smells like burnt coffee and damp rope. You drop to a crouch. Peer up. The first explosions come in quick succession. Not near, not yet. Somewhere beyond the ridge, a dull red glow paints the bottom of the clouds. Then vanishes. Another. Closer this time. You feel the rumble in your chest, like someone thumping a drum against your ribs. Tomlinson slides in next to you, breathing hard, hair wild under his helmet. They're going for the fuel depot. He mutters. Again. You nod. It's always the depot, or the hangars, or the runway. Anything that keeps you from flying. Overhead, the bombers pass. You catch the silhouette of one, broad wings, thick body, engines humming like hive song. You know what kind it is. A Junkers, maybe a Heinkel. You've seen them from above. Now you see them from below. Flak bursts around it, sharp white flashes, like electric stars. One shell hits close. You see the flash before you feel the shockwave. Dirt sprays. Your ears ring. Tomlinson curses and wipes grit from his eyes. Another wave passes overhead. This one drops payloads. The bombs don't whistle like in the movies. They thud through the air, displacing it, dragging silence in their wake until the impact hits. The hangar across the field erupts. Flames bloom from it, wild and orange, hungry. You feel the heat from here. A second bomb lands near the far barracks, closer. You duck instinctively, even though you know by now that ducking won't help much. People scramble. Fire crews race toward the blaze in clunky trucks. Sirens competing with the skies. Tomlinson peers out. That was number 3 hangar. He says quietly. That's where they kept the old Hurricane. You nod. Not much to say. Not much that can be said. Another bomber passes low. This one's off course. A single engine escort, maybe lost. Maybe broken formation. It dips. Then banks hard. Trailing smoke. It's not shot down. It crashes. A slow, spiraling descent behind the treeline, followed by a glow, soft at first, then monstrous. You both sit in silence. Somewhere down the line, someone starts shooting wildly into the sky. Probably nerves. Probably a rookie. You hear a stern voice call out, "Hold your fire. For God's sake," but the damage is done. Now the air's thick with powder. Shouting. Chaos. You stay down. Minutes stretch. Explosions roll farther away now. The last of the bombers are heading back across the channel. The siren changes pitch again, descending. This time, the all clear. But you don't move yet. Your hands are still shaking. Your knees ache from crouching. You feel older than you did yesterday. Maybe even older than your father. Tomlinson sits back, exhales hard. That's the third time this week. He says. You say nothing, just nod. Eventually, you stand. The sky is quieter now. The stars are still there. Unchanged. You hate them for that. Hate how they shine without consequence. Without flinching. You walk back to the barracks. The smell of smoke follows you. Curls around your collar. You pass the crater where the bomb hid near the old bicycle shed. It's deep, dark, steaming. Bits of metal litter the grass. A child could drown in it. The barrack door creaks as you push it open. Inside, the men are settling back in. Some are talking softly. Others sit on their beds. Hands idle. Eyes vacant. One man, Peterson, just stares at the wall. You've seen that stare before. You've worn it. You strip off your jacket. Your shirt sticks to your back, damp with sweat and cold air. You sit on your bunk, elbows on your knees, staring at your boots. You realize one of the laces is singed. You don't remember how. After a while, someone starts boiling tea. The tin kettle whistles like it's pretending everything is normal. Mugs clink. Conversation returns. Slowly, like a tide, you sip from your mug. It tastes like metal and smoke and something that wants to be comfort. You don't mind. Griggs appears in the doorway. Depot's gone, he says flatly. So's the hurricane, but no one dead, just one broken leg. Everyone nods. In war, no one dead counts as a win. The lights flicker once, twice, then settle. Outside, someone's already sweeping debris. The routine is beginning again. You lie back down. The mattress groans. Your body hurts in places you can't name. Your eyes itch, but you don't cry. There's nothing left for that. And just as you begin to drift, just as the mug slips from your hand onto the floor and the air settles warm around you, you hear something. Faint, distant, the drone of another plane. You freeze, then realize, this one's friendly. You exhale. For now. There's a saying among pilots, the engine giveth, and the engine taketh away. Most of the time, it's meant as a joke. A way to laugh at the rattling sound that's probably nothing or the tiny flicker on the oil gauge that might just be a bug. But every pilot, deep down, knows how quickly an engine can go silent. And what that silence means. You're airborne again. Early morning, low light, overcast skies. The mission is routine. Weather recon over the coast. A slow, high arc over familiar terrain. It should be dull. It was dull. Until it wasn't. You're about 20 minutes out when it happens. At first, you think it's your imagination. A small hiccup. A flicker in the engine's rhythm. Like a missed step in a waltz. You glance at the gauges. Nothing seems off. Oil pressure steady. Fuel still decent. You frown, listening harder. Then it happens again. A cough. A sputter. Then silence. Not full silence. Just the absence of engine. The kind of quiet that roars in your chest. Wind rushes past the canopy. The propeller is still spinning. But not by power. By inertia. Your heart seizes. Your hands grip the stick tighter than they should. You tap the throttle. Nothing. You check the fuel line. The mixture lever. The magnetos. You toggle switches you've toggled 100 times before. Nothing. The plane is still gliding. But slower now. Heavier. You say nothing on the radio. Not yet. You know what's next. You scan the land below. Flat fields. A few farmhouses. A thin ribbon of road. Trees. Not a proper airstrip in sight. Not even a decent stretch of field without hedgerows. The training kicks in. You level the wings. Begin a slow, controlled descent. This isn't a crash yet. Not if you do it right. You talk yourself through it in your head. Airspeed steady. Flaps as needed. Nose up slightly. But your hands are shaking. Your mouth is dry. The canopy fogs a little with your breath. You wipe it clean with your sleeve. You speak into the radio. Finally. Calm. Clipped. Mayday. Mayday. Engine failure. Attempting forced landing. Coordinates approximate. Grid G5. They're static. Then Tomlinson's voice. Copy. We're turning back. You don't answer. You don't have time. You're already under 1,000 feet. You spot a field. Long. Mostly flat. Bordered by trees. It's not ideal. But it's what you've got. You line it up. Throttle's still unresponsive. You pull back slightly. Adjust for wind. You're gliding now. Your plane. Your body. Your hope. All riding gravity like a wave you can't control. You aim for the far end. Always the far end. Give yourself options. But the wind shifts. A gust pushes your nose sideways. You overcorrect. The wings shudder. Too fast. Too low. You brace. The wheels hit. Hard. The plane bounces once. Then slams down again. You hear a loud crack. Metal groaning. A tire bursts. The wingtip scrapes a fence post. The left side drags. You spin. The world becomes sky. Earth. Blur. Sky again. Then, stillness. A low, final clunk. Dust settles. You're sideways in a hedge. Alive. But sideways. You sit there for a moment. Breathing. Heart pounding. The canopy cracked but intact. Your legs still attached. Your arms still responding. You laugh. Once. Sharp. Too loud. Then silence again. You unclip your harness. Every muscle protests. You reach for the canopy latch. It sticks. You kick it. It opens. You climb out awkwardly. The hedge is thorny. The wing is bent at a 30-degree angle. One wheel is in a ditch. You stand on top of the fuselage and wave your arms in a slow circle. Just in case someone's watching. Then you climb down. Your boots land in mud. You feel everything at once, knees bruised. Shoulder sore. Hands trembling. Head spinning. But you're standing. That's what counts. You hear a vehicle in the distance. Maybe a truck. Maybe a farmer. You sit on the wing. Watching the field grow brighter with morning light. Eventually, Tomlinson arrives in a jeep. Looking pale and windblown, he stares at the wreckage. Then at you. You alright? You nod. Better than the plane. He lets out a long breath and climbs out. They'll tow it back. Might even fix it. You raise an eyebrow. You think? He shrugs. They've done worse. You both stand in silence. Looking at the twisted metal like it's an old friend who's had a bad day. Back at base, the mechanics take one look and groan. Again? One mutters. You don't say anything. The flight doc checks your vitals. Your heart rate is a little high. Your blood pressure a little low. Nothing broken. Just rattled. Just shaken. You're told to rest. You try. You lie on your bunk. Staring at the ceiling again. That same water stain. Still looks like a horse. Or maybe a parachute. You think about what would have happened if the hedge wasn't there. If the wing had clipped a stone wall. If the engine had failed 5 minutes earlier. Over the channel. You think about how close you came to not thinking anymore. And then you close your eyes. You dream of clouds. Not the kind you fly through. The kind that catch you when you fall. It's the smell that wakes you. Not an alarm. Not a voice. Not even the whine of engines. Just the sharp, acrid sting of burning oil mixed with crushed grass and torn canvas. You open your eyes slowly, blinking at the morning light filtering through a cracked window. For a split second, you think you're back in the field, lying next to the wreckage. But no, the cot beneath you creaks just like your old one. The ceiling stain is back, horse-shaped, familiar. You're at base again, and you're alive. Everything hurts. Your shoulder throbs, stiff from yesterday's unscheduled landing. Your back's one continuous knot. Your right hand, which clung to the stick like it owed you money, is cramped into a semi-permanent claw. You stretch it slowly. It pops, loudly. The knock comes softly on the doorframe. It's the doc. He doesn't ask how you're feeling. He just raises an eyebrow. You answer with a nod. He grunts. Well, if you're planning to fly again, I'd recommend walking upright first. You manage a dry smile. I'm evolving. He chuckles and tosses you a small tin of ointment and a packet of painkillers. 2 a day. No more. Or you'll hallucinate dragons over Dover. The thought of dragons over Dover almost seems preferable to Messerschmitt's. After he leaves, you sit on the edge of the bed, elbows on your knees, eyes heavy. You run a hand through your hair. It's oily, dusty, smells like scorched leather and effort. You've got time to clean up, but not much. They've already assigned you a new plane. It's not your old Spitfire. That one's going to be patched. Maybe, if it lives, they'll probably give it to someone else. You're supposed to feel nothing about that. But you do. You make your way to the hangar. Each step a conversation between bruises and determination. The new plane is waiting, sleek, polished, freshly painted, no scuffs, no personality yet, just a gleaming bird waiting for its first insult. The ground crew nod as you approach. One of them gestures to the nose art. A hastily chalked name, lucky number. You raise an eyebrow. Bit optimistic. The mechanic shrugs. Could have called it definitely not cursed, but the chalk was running out. You pat the fuselage gently. The metal is cool under your palm. It doesn't hum like your last one. Not yet, but it will. You climb in slowly. Everything feels wrong. The seat's stiffer. The rudder pedals at a different angle. The stick is clean, untouched. You sit in silence for a while. Helmet in your lap, watching the clouds roll by outside the hangar doors. Eventually, you speak, just softly. Hello. Then, it's what you say to every plane the first time. As if it's listening. As if it matters. You test the controls, slowly. Methodically. Gauges, levers, switches, all in the right place. Even if they feel like strangers. The ground crew gives you the thumbs up. You nod back. The engine starts with a low growl, smooth and immediate. No cough, no protest. It's too smooth, almost suspicious. You taxi slowly, out past the ruined hangar, past the blackened marks on the runway, past the crater near the old barracks that hasn't been filled yet. And then you take off. The air catches you like a memory. The moment you're up, it's different. This plane doesn't fight you. It moves with you. It's lighter, more responsive. It doesn't yet know the weight of fear, or fire, or missed shots. It hasn't carried ghosts. You're the only one aboard. The wind tears at your canopy as you climb. You level out at 10,000 feet. The sky is empty for now. You radio in, position confirmed. All systems normal. The usual words, said with practiced boredom. But your body's not bored. It's alert. Every muscle remembers the spin, the glide, the landing. Every nerve listens to the engine for hesitation. For doubt, there's none. You fly. Long, slow loops over the coast. You check in with the tower every 10 minutes. You spot 2 other patrols in the distance. Glints of metal dancing between clouds. The channel below is calm. Steel blue. A ribbon of stillness that you hope stays that way. Half an hour in, Your hands begin to relax. You test the roll, the climb. You tip the nose just slightly and feel the plane respond like it's reading your mind. You grin, just a little. Not joy, too early for that, but relief. The kind of grin that says, maybe. Just maybe. You let the plane cruise for a while. You loosen your gloves. Stretch your fingers. You breathe. Deep. Measured. You glance down at the sea. And that's when it hits you. The silence. Not engine silence. Not danger silence. But inner silence. The chatter in your brain is gone. No memories of impact. No visions of flame. No wondering what you'd write in your last letter. Just you. And the sky. It doesn't last long. There's a call over the radio. Another pilot. Fuel low. Heading back. Nothing urgent. You respond. Calm and clear. Your voice is steady now. As you turn for base, you spot the remains of your old plane down near the edge of the field. Covered in a tarp, waiting for parts, waiting for a second chance. Just like you, you descend slowly. No rush, no fear. The landing is smooth. Wheels kiss the runway with a soft squeal. And the plane settles like it's always belonged there. Like it knows. You taxi back. The ground crew greets you with mock applause. Tomlinson stands nearby, smirking. Didn't catch fire. Promising. You slide open the canopy. Exhale. She flies. He nods. Steps forward. You do too. You unbuckle. Climb out. As your boots touch the tarmac, you feel it. That you're not carrying yesterday anymore. At least not all of it. Hospitals are supposed to be quiet. But this one hums, not with machines, but with breathing, whispers, the occasional clatter of a tray down the hall. You didn't expect to be here. And certainly not like this. But here you are, lying on a cot with a thin gray blanket, a splint on your wrist, and the unmistakable smell of antiseptic in your nose. It happened 2 days ago. Not during a dogfight, not even in the air. A bad landing. Routine patrol. Wind shifted just before touchdown. And your wheel caught the edge of a muddy ditch. The plane twisted, groaned, and threw you sideways in the cockpit. You braced. Too late. The pain was instant. Not blinding. Not cinematic. Just real. Sharp. Then dull. And then a blur of shouting and mechanics pulling you out with hands that were too careful and too quick all at once. Now, you're here. And it's boring. The walls are plain, chipped at the corners. There's a window beside your bed. But it only shows a tree stump and a scrap of sky. You've named the stump Bernard. He's your most frequent visitor. Your bunkmates are a mixed lot, some burns. Some broken bones. One poor soul with shell shock so bad he flinches at every footstep. He sleeps with a picture of his daughter clutched to his chest. Even in the day, you don't know his name. No one does. They just call him the quiet one. Your wrist isn't broken, just badly strained. The doc says a week. Maybe 2. No flying, he says, as if that's a punishment. You nod, grateful for the excuse to sit still and feel guilty about it. You pass the time in pieces. In the morning, you read a worn book of poetry someone left behind, Browning or Byron. Hard to tell. In the afternoon, you walk laps around the hallway. By lap 3, the nurses start greeting you like a regular. By lap 10, you feel like one of the floor tiles. Tomlinson visits on the 3rd day. He brings tea, lukewarm and sloshing dangerously in a chipped mug. Fancy hotel you found, he says. All inclusive? You grin. The entertainment's a bit slow. He pulls up a chair. You talk about the squadron. Who's flying what? Which planes are acting up? He says Griggs is back in the air. Finally. Says a new lad arrived. Green as grass and twice as nervous. You nod. Let it all wash over you like rain on a tin roof. He asks how you're feeling. You hesitate. Like I'm waiting for something. You admit. He nods. Doesn't push. When he leaves, you don't open the book again. Instead, you look out at Bernard. He hasn't moved. Good man. A nurse stops by with a note. Handwritten. You recognize the slant. Her. You open it slowly, like it might dissolve in your fingers. Heard you had a run-in with the ground. Hope it lost. Thought of you today when I saw a cloud shaped like a tea kettle. No idea why. Come home in one piece. I'll boil the water. You smile. Fold the letter carefully and slide it beneath your pillow. For luck. For something to hold on to. That night, you dream of walking. Not flying. Just walking. Through a field of tall grass. Her hand in yours. No engines. No sirens. Just the sound of bees. The whisper of wind. The grass is so tall it brushes your arms. Soft as silk. You wake slowly. The room is quiet. The quiet one is asleep. Bernard is still there. A bird has landed on him. Just for a moment. You sit up. Stretch your wrist. It still aches. But it moves. Better than yesterday. You clench your fist slowly. Open it again. It's not flying. But it's something. Later, you help one of the nurses pass out trays. Not because they ask. Just because you need to do something. One man can't hold his cup steady. So you help him drink. Another wants you to read aloud. You do. Your voice is low. Hoarse from disuse. But steady. It helps. You feel your body settle into itself again. Your shoulders loosen. The knot behind your ribs softens. You almost forget what it feels like to be surrounded by so much stillness. To exist without engines, without maps, without targets. But even here, the war lingers. At night, you hear a plane overhead, probably one of yours. On patrol, it passes like a ghost across the window. Its hum fading into the distance. You wonder who's in it. If their hands are shaking. If they've just seen something that will never leave them. And you wonder if, when you're back up there, the sky will feel the same. Or if you'll feel different. Not scared, not broken, just changed. You drift to sleep again. Fingers resting over the folded letter under your pillow. And as your breath evens out, the hospital quiets. The engines fade. And for a few hours, at least, the war forgets your name. It's your first day off base in nearly a month. Leave was approved last night, just 48 hours. A quick trip into London. No special occasion, no parade, just a chance to walk down a street without looking up every 5 seconds. To remember you have feet instead of wings. The idea of a train, a pub, maybe a warm cafe feels absurdly luxurious. The journey starts early. You're in uniform. Of course, you always are, but this time the creases are sharp. The boots actually polished. It feels strange to look like the picture in a recruitment poster. Even stranger to know how different that picture is from the person wearing it. The train rumbles south through a damp, gray morning. You lean against the window, watching the countryside unfold like a story you've forgotten how to read. Sheep dot the hills. Smoke rises from chimneys. A boy in a cap waves from the edge of a station platform as you pass. You lift your hand slightly in return. He smiles. You remember being that boy. Once. London appears like a smudged drawing, rows of rooftops. Chimneys like punctuation marks. Buses lumbering through wet streets. You step off the train and into a city that's bruised but still breathing. Sandbags line building fronts. Some shop windows are still boarded. But there's movement, laughter, life. You wander aimlessly at first. That's the point. You turn down unfamiliar streets. Past tiny bookstores and tobacconists and cafes with names painted in careful, looping script. Somewhere, a radio plays jazz through a cracked window. The smell of frying eggs hits you like a memory you didn't know you missed. Eventually, you find a small cafe with fogged windows and a door that sticks slightly. Inside, it's warm, not just heated, warm. The kind that comes from people. The clink of teacups. Soft conversation. A woman behind the counter greets you with a smile that's both curious and kind. You order tea. Toast. Real toast. With butter that melts. It's perfect. You sit by the window and let the heat soak into your bones. The tea is strong and a little bitter. The toast is gone before you realize you're chewing. You order another cup. No one rushes you. No one stares. Outside, the rain picks up. You watch the droplets race each other down the glass. And for once, you're not thinking about fuel gauges or flak bursts or enemy silhouettes in the clouds. You're just here. Eventually, you walk again. You buy a paper from a corner boy who doesn't look older than 14. You in the Air Force? He asks, tilting his cap. You nod. Ever shot a Jerry? You pause, then smile faintly. Only the rude ones. He grins, pockets your coin, and runs off. You sit in the park for a while. The benches are wet, so you lean against a railing. Pigeons shuffle at your feet. A couple strolls by, laughing softly, her hand tucked into his coat. You glance away, not out of sadness, just habit. Romance feels like another country now. One you used to visit. As evening falls, you duck into a pub. It's dimly lit, crowded, full of low voices and cigarette smoke. Someone's playing a piano in the corner, slightly out of tune. But with passion, you order a pint. It tastes like earth and memory. A man next to you raises his glass. To the boys up there, he says, you raise yours, and the ones who came back down. You talk for a while. About football. About the price of eggs. About nothing important. That's the beauty of it. No one asks how many missions. No one asks if you've lost anyone. Just talk. Just noise. Just being normal. Later, you stumble into a boarding house near the station. The mattress is lumpy. The sheets scratchy. But it feels like luxury. You lie there staring at the ceiling, which has no stains, no draft, no threat, just wood, just stillness. You sleep. Hard. No dreams. Just rest. In the morning, you wake to a soft knock and a tray of breakfast, eggs, toast, marmalade. You blink at it like it's a mirage. You thank the landlady, who waves it off and says, boys like you deserve more than toast. You walk back to the station in the late morning mist. On the way, you pass a bookstore and buy a small leather notebook. You don't know what you'll write in it yet. Maybe names, maybe places, maybe something less explainable, but you feel the need to hold on to something. The train north is quieter. The fields blur past again, but they feel different now. Less like escape, more like return. You're not healed. Not really. But something inside has softened. The bass welcomes you back with the usual flurry of noise and damp. Someone throws a rag at you. Tomlinson grins and says, don't get used to city food. Mess stew's waiting. You laugh. Actually laugh. Later, as you unpack, you find the notebook again. You sit on your bunk and write only one line. The world still exists. I saw it. And then you place it in your jacket pocket, right next to her letter. Because both are proof. Rain delays the next flight. Not by much, just a few hours, but enough to make the entire squadron restless. You pace the hangar like a caged animal. Boots echoing on the concrete. Hands buried in your pockets. The others linger nearby, leaning against crates, nursing mugs of tea that have long since gone cold. The radio crackles with weather updates. None of them good. You sit on a workbench beside your plane. Now officially, your plane after 2 full missions and no engine failures. Someone finally painted a name on her nose, lucky number. Still chalked. Now outlined in black. You think it's ironic. Or prophetic. You haven't decided which. Griggs is flipping through a tattered magazine. Upside down. Tomlinson has found a piece of chalk and started drawing mustaches on a pin-up poster. No one says much. The rain is steady, relentless. It taps the roof in a dull rhythm, fills puddles that mirror the underside of aircraft. The hangar smells of oil, damp rope, and boredom. It's amazing how quickly adrenaline turns into listlessness when there's nowhere to direct it. At some point, you wander over to the chalkboard at the edge of the hangar. Today's sortie is still listed: routine recon. Low altitude sweep along the coast. Same stretch you've flown a dozen times now. But beside it, someone's written. The waiting is worse than the flying. You stare at the words for a long moment. They're right. The anticipation chews at your nerves like rats in the walls. You'd rather be in the air. Heart pounding. Brain focused on angles and clouds and survival. Anything but this half-alive limbo. Eventually, the green flare goes up. The delay is over. The mission is back on. You suit up in silence. Your flight suit is still slightly damp from yesterday. Your gloves squeak as you pull them tight. The parachute straps hug your shoulders like the arms of someone you're not sure you trust. You move through it all without thinking. Each buckle, each check, each adjustment, it's ritual now. Muscle memory. A second language learned in fear. You climb into the cockpit. Settle in. Pull the canopy down. The rain has eased to a drizzle. The clouds still hang low. Fat and heavy. Like they're waiting to make a point. The engine coughs to life. The familiar rumble settles your stomach, even as it rattles your bones. You taxi down the runway. Eyes scanning the edge of the airfield out of habit. There's no movement. No sign of yesterday's bombers. Just puddles and flattened grass. Then, takeoff. You pull back on the stick and feel the wheels lift. The earth releases you like an exhale. Back in the sky. The clouds are close today. You climb through them, wipers ticking once across the canopy before you breach the white ceiling. Above, the sun surprises you, bright, almost aggressive. It makes the clouds below look like a sea of whipped cream. You level out, scan the horizon. The mission is simple: follow the coast. Keep eyes on the water. Report any suspicious vessels or movements. No fighting expected, which, of course, means something will probably happen. It always does. But for now, nothing. You fly low, the sea shimmering below. The cliffs of Dover in the distance like a spine running along the edge of the world. The wind hums, the engine purrs, and your hands, though tense, feel at home on the stick. The coastline curves beneath you like a sleeping giant. You pass fishing boats, a couple of cargo ships. No enemy craft, just the quiet theater of everyday war. You glance left. Griggs is there, in formation. You glance right. Tomlinson waggles his wings once. You return the gesture. The three of you form a line against the sky, imperfect. A little spread out, but united. You spot a bird, a gull, flapping just below your left wing. It banks, adjusts, seems to fly with you for a moment. Then it drops out of sight. You wonder if it saw your face. You wonder if it cared. Halfway through the route, the clouds thicken again. Visibility drops. You descend slightly. Then it happens. A sputter. Your stomach flips, but it's not your engine. You scan your mirrors. Tomlinson's plane is trailing smoke. Not a lot, but enough. You click the radio. Smoke on your 6. You alright? A pause. Engine's rough. Tomlinson answers. Can stay up for now. You adjust your course. Stay close. Griggs drops back to escort. The three of you tighten formation. No alarms. No panic. Just precision. Just presence. Tomlinson makes it back. The landing is bumpy. A little hot, but clean. As his plane rolls to a stop. You exhale. Then you touch down. The wheels hit the runway harder than usual. Your knees jar. Your teeth clack. But it's fine. You taxi toward the hangar. Engine ticking like a tired heart. You climb out. Tomlinson's already out of his cockpit. Helmet off. Sweat on his brow. You walk over. He grins. Guess lucky numbers still got competition. You grin back. Just barely. Later, in the mess hall. The rain returns. But it feels different now. It's not waiting anymore. It's recovery. It's rhythm. You sit beside your friends. Spoon in hand. Food too bland to matter. Someone starts humming a song that has no name. Someone else adds a line. The voices rise, not in celebration, but in familiarity. This is your world now. And for once, you're not wishing to be anywhere else. You remember the first time you saw him. Not in the mess hall. Not on the airstrip. In the air. Up there. Above the channel. Where everything's fast and jagged and loud. He was just a new dot in the formation at first. Wings a little too wobbly. Altitude too fidgety. You noticed the hesitation. The minor corrections. The kind of flying that says, I've done this in training. But not in life. The rookie. He couldn't have been more than 19. Face barely creased by time. Eyes too wide to belong to someone in a flight suit. You caught a glimpse of him as you dismounted that day. Climbing out of his cockpit like it was a museum exhibit he wasn't supposed to touch. He looked around like he expected someone to wake him up and tell him he wasn't supposed to be here. Now he's sitting across from you in the briefing room. His name is Wilkins. From Manchester. Talks like a schoolteacher. Hands that keep twitching. Like he's still holding the stick even while drinking tea. He spills a bit. Tries to laugh it off. You nod. Politely. You remember that nervous energy. That hollow eagerness. Later. You watch as a crewman shows him around the hangar. He's listening closely. Taking notes. Peeking into engines like they're puzzles. His plane has that shine. The untouched finish that almost seems disrespectful up close. But not to him. To him, it's sacred. The next day, he's on your wing. Your job? Escort a supply drop over occupied France. Routine, if such a word means anything anymore. You're not expecting much resistance. The cloud cover is low. The mission short. But you're still uneasy. There's a sixth sense you develop after enough missions. A kind of mental static before the storm. Wilkins climbs into his aircraft like a boy climbing onto a roller coaster, bravado on the outside. Breath holding on the inside. You lift off together. The flight is smooth for the first half hour. Clouds drift like shredded paper. Sun dappling the wings in soft pulses. Below, the patchwork of farmland unfolds in green and brown. Dotted with red tiled roofs and winding roads that lead somewhere and nowhere all at once. You stay close. Watch him. His turns are a little too wide. He overcorrects in the climb. But he's trying. And trying matters. Halfway through, the radio crackles. Enemy spotted. Bearing 350. Fast movers. You stiffen. You glance to your left. Wilkins is there. Eyes darting. His plane dips slightly before he steadies it. Stay with me, you say, loud and clear. He clicks once. Acknowledged. The Germans come in fast, 3 Messerschmitts. Diving out of cloud cover like lightning bolts. You brake. The formation scatters. Bullets lace the air. You roll hard right. Pull up. Catch a glimpse of Wilkins angling behind you. Then, chaos. The dogfight is fast and disjointed. You bank. Dive. Fire. One of the enemy spins out of sight. Griggs is chasing another. High and to your right. Wilkins stays close, for a while. Then you lose him. Wilkins? Report. Static. Then, I'm, trying to. Then silence. You scan. Your heart is in your throat. Finally, you spot him, low. Weaving. Smoke trailing from his tail. He's not hit badly. But he's disoriented. His plane jerks. Dips. Climbs. You dive. Call out. Ease your climb. Drop flaps. You're stalling. No reply. He's too panicked. You descend alongside him. Match his speed. Edge in close enough to see his face through the canopy. He's pale. Sweating. eyes darting like trapped birds. You nod. He sees you. Breathes. Steadies. You both pull out of the dive. Low over the trees. Engines growling. The enemy is gone now. Either scared off or finished. You can't tell. You don't care. All you care about is getting him home. The journey back is slow. Wilkins follows your every move. Like a shadow learning to walk. He doesn't speak. Neither do you. The air between you is thick with unspoken things. Fear. Failure. And the first taste of real survival. Back on the runway. His landing is rough. He bounces once. Then again. But he stops. That's what matters. You taxi over. Climb out. Walk across the wet tarmac to his plane. He's still sitting inside. Helmet off. Hair matted. Hands shaking. You lean in. He looks up at you. And says, quietly, "I thought I was dead." You nod. Not unkindly. "So did I," you say. Later, in the mess hall. He sits at the end of the table. Nursing a cup of tea. The others don't tease him. Not because they like him. But because they recognize him. They've all been that guy. You've been that guy. Wilkins doesn't talk much for the next few days. But he flies. He shows up. He studies. You start to see the changes. His turns get tighter. His climbs smoother. His radio calls more confident. You don't tell him he's doing well. You don't need to. He knows you're watching. And when he finally gets his first confirmed assist, clean, precise, controlled, you nod as he lands. And this time, he smiles. Just a little. Not proud. Just relieved. Like he finally believes he belongs here. Section 19. It's one of those rare days where the sky is a deep, uninterrupted blue, and the sun makes the cockpit feel like a greenhouse. The canopy reflects a soft glare, turning the world into a slow-moving kaleidoscope. You've been up for hours, escort duty again, watching over a formation of bombers heading toward the coast. The work is tense, but repetitive. You've learned to conserve your focus. You scan the sky, pace your breathing, shift your weight to keep your legs from going numb. Then it happens. It's not dramatic, not like in the films. There's no sudden swell of music, no close-up of your face. It's just a moment. A German fighter peels off from above, aiming for the trailing bomber. You and Griggs spot him at the same time. You angle in. Griggs goes high. You go low. The enemy pilot doesn't notice you yet. He's focused, intent. You slide in behind. Your finger hovers over the trigger. He twitches, banking just slightly. That's when you see it. His canopy is clear, sunlight hitting the glass just right. And there he is. The pilot. Close now. You see his profile, jaw tight. Helmet snug. Goggles pulled low. His face is young, not much older than Wilkins. His lips are moving. Maybe he's talking, praying, shouting. You can't tell. He glances back. And for a breathless second, you lock eyes. That's the part that freezes you. Not the shot. Not the movement. But the eye contact. The sudden, awful realization that the man you're about to kill has a name. A voice. A family. He sees you. And in that look, there's no hatred. Just recognition. Then he banks hard left. You fire. The tracers rip across the sky. One catches the tail. His plane jolts. Spins. You lose him behind a cloud. You don't follow. Not this time. You level out, chest heaving, and rejoin formation. Nothing is said. No one saw. But you feel it. All the way down to your boots. That evening, you're quiet. The others debrief. Clean gear. Laugh about a mechanic who dropped a wrench into an engine bay. But you're somewhere else. Your mind keeps replaying the face behind that enemy canopy. The human behind the target. You sit outside the hangar, watching the sky fade into twilight. Griggs joins you, offers a cigarette. You decline. He lights it anyway and says nothing for a long while. Then, quietly, "You saw him, didn't you?" You don't answer. You don't have to. He exhales smoke toward the clouds. I saw mine last week. Blonde hair. Big eyes. Probably hungry. He chuckles. Hollow. I still fired. You nod. Barely. Griggs turns toward you. You ever wonder how many of us they see? Right before we pull the trigger? You shrug. Maybe the same. Maybe. Silence again. The stars start coming out. One by one. You remember something your old instructor once said. Don't think about the person. Think about the plane. The plane is the threat. It made sense then. It doesn't now. Later. You sit at your bunk. Letter half written. You start a sentence. Then scratch it out. Start another. Scratch that too. Eventually. You just write. I flew today. Saw someone I might have been. If things were reversed. You fold the page. Don't sign it. Don't send it. Next morning. You find yourself near the fence at the edge of the base. There's a little rise in the ground where you can see the training field. Two young mechanics are working on an old fuselage. Chatting lazily. One of them looks up and waves. You wave back. And you think. Somewhere. On the other side of this war. Another pilot is doing the same. Maybe he survived. Maybe he's writing a letter too. Or maybe he's looking at the sky. Wondering what your name was. You've never liked parades. Not really. Not even as a child. They always felt strange to you. Too loud. Too forced. Like happiness was being projected at full volume in hopes it might stick. So when they told you there'd be a victory parade in the nearby town, you smiled politely, nodded once, and went back to oiling your sidearm. But then they made it an order. Morale. They said. Presence. So you're here. Boots buffed. Uniform pressed. Face clean. Standing in formation on a cobbled street that smells of wet stone and spent confetti. The crowd is cheering. People wave paper flags. Children climb lampposts. Old women blow kisses. A dog barks like it's part of the brass band. And you? You feel like a mannequin in someone else's window. The mayor makes a speech. Something about sacrifice, courage, eternal gratitude. You try to listen. You really do. But the words slide off your ears like rain off a tin roof. They're true. Probably. Or at least true enough for today. But your mind is somewhere else. Some sky. Some engine hum. Some place where the cheers never quite reached. You scan the crowd. Look for something to anchor you. A familiar face. A laugh you recognize. But it's all strangers. Clapping. Smiling. Alive. Someone hands you a small bouquet of flowers. You thank them before realizing they've already moved on to the next uniform. You hold the flowers awkwardly. Not sure what to do with them. They smell like spring. Like the season you missed entirely. The parade continues. Marching feet. Polished medals. A band playing too enthusiastically. You catch sight of Wilkins a few rows over. He looks like he's trying to enjoy himself. Standing a bit straighter. Smiling when people wave. You're glad for him. He's earned that smile. They all have. Then you see Griggs. And Tomlinson. And the empty space between them. No one stands there. But you know who should. Peterson. He's not here. Went down last week over the channel. No body. Just oil in the water and radio silence. You look at the space as if someone might fill it by mistake. But no one does. Your throat tightens. A little girl waves at you. Eyes wide. Her mother whispers something in her ear. She steps forward. Hands you a folded paper crane. For luck, she says. You take it. And for a moment, you forget how tired your legs are. After the parade, there's a reception. Tea in porcelain cups. Biscuits on trays. Everyone saying, brave, like it's a toast. You nod a lot. Smile when it feels appropriate. Field questions from a reporter who doesn't quite understand what escort duty means. Then you slip away. Out the side door. Down the stone steps. Onto a quiet path lined with ivy and fog. You walk. No destination. Just movement. You end up at a war memorial. Simple. Black marble. Names etched into permanence. Fresh flowers at the base. You find one you recognize. You touch the letters. They're cold. Then you sit on the bench nearby and take a long breath. The crowd is far now. Just wind and birds. A man sits beside you after a few minutes. Civilian. Gray beard. Worn jacket. He doesn't speak for a while. Then, you look like you've flown too many times to enjoy parades. You chuckle. How'd you guess? He taps his temple. Used to fly. Not during this one. The first one. You nod. He doesn't need to explain. He looks at you. It doesn't get easier, but it gets quieter. You think about that. Is that better? You ask. He shrugs. Different. You sit together for a while. Watching nothing. Saying nothing. The kind of silence that doesn't ask questions. When you finally rise, he doesn't. He just says, "You made it back." That counts for something. You walk away without answering. Because if you speak, you might cry. Back at base, the barracks are quiet. The parade is already a memory being folded into tomorrow's orders. You sit at your bunk. Pull the paper crane from your pocket. Place it next to her letter. Next to your notebook. Next to the only things that still feel mine. You stare at them for a long time. Then write, softly. People cheered today. I smiled. It didn't feel false. Just unfinished. Outside, someone hums a tune. You don't know the words. But you know the tune. And that's enough. You're home. Not for good. Not yet. But for a few weeks, convalescent leave. The papers say, a stretch of days where no one yells orders. Where no one checks your flight roster. Where no one expects you to be anywhere but present. You've packed light. Just a duffel. Your uniform. A letter you haven't opened yet. And a half-used notebook filled with words you're still not sure were yours. The train ride south is slow. Winding through hills and villages you'd almost forgotten existed. You recognize the turn of a road here. A row of hedges there. The trees are taller than they were before the war. Or maybe it's you who sees differently now. Everything is both familiar and impossibly far away. A memory still forming. The station is exactly as you left it. Small, old, the sign slightly crooked, a single bench, a man selling papers with yesterday's headlines. You step off the train, and the platform creaks beneath your boots. You're nervous. You weren't expecting to be. But here it is, settling in your chest like a coiled rope. What if everything is different? What if you've become too much of the war to return to the world? Then you hear her voice. She says your name like it's a question. Soft, testing. You turn, and she's there. She doesn't run, doesn't cry, just smiles. Not a smile of celebration, but one of relief. Like something heavy has finally been set down. She walks up to you and touches your sleeve. You're thinner, she says, quietly. You laugh. So is the rations board. She hugs you. You don't know how long it lasts. Long enough. At the cottage, everything's in its place. The kettle on the stove. The chipped mug you used to call lucky. The creaky step outside the back door. The dog is older. Slower. But he still barks like you've been gone a single afternoon. You crouch down and scratch behind his ears until your knees protest. That night, you sit by the fire with your hands wrapped around a real cup of tea, porcelain. Not tin. No engine noise. No drills. Just crackling wood and the quiet rhythm of rain on the windows. She asks if you want to talk. You shake your head. She nods. You sit in silence. Later, you find yourself outside, barefoot in the grass. The sky is clear, full of stars. You lie back and feel the cool earth under your spine. It grounds you, reminds you that the world hasn't vanished while you were gone. She lies beside you. Neither of you speaks. After a while, she says, "Do you think it's over?" You don't answer at first. Then, "Not yet, but soon." She nods. "You'll go back?" You turn your head toward her. If they ask, yes. She doesn't argue. Instead, she reaches over and places something in your hand. The paper crane. You hadn't noticed her take it from your pocket. It's slightly wrinkled now, a bit soft around the folds. But still there. Still a shape held together by intention. Don't forget you made it back. She says. Not everyone does. You stay like that for a long time. The next day, you walk to the edge of town. There's a field where you used to lie in the summer. It hasn't changed. Not really. Just a few more weeds. The same fence. The same wind. You sit beneath a tree and write. For the first time in weeks. The words come easily. Today I touched the grass with bare feet and didn't flinch. The sky was blue. And I didn't look for movement. I heard birds. Not engines. Maybe this is what healing starts like, not loud. Not proud. Just still. You close the notebook. Your wrist doesn't ache as much anymore. Back at the house, there's a telegram on the table. It's from command. You unfold it slowly. They're extending your leave. No reason given. Just dates. A few more weeks. You exhale. A reprieve. You step outside again. Cup in hand. She's tending the garden. The dog lies in the shade. Everything is ordinary. And for once, that feels like a miracle. You don't know when you'll fly again. But for now, your feet are on the ground. And they're not asking to leave. You never quite expected it to end. Not because you thought the war would last forever, though some days it certainly felt that way, but because you didn't imagine what after might feel like. The silence of peace always sounded so distant, so theoretical, like an echo from a story someone else was telling. But now it's real. The war is over. The papers say so. The radio says so. People shout it in the streets like a spell that might make it true. You were in the hangar when the news came. Someone burst in, breathless. It's done. They surrendered. At first, there was disbelief. Then shouts. Then the kind of laughter that sounds suspiciously close to weeping. Helmets were tossed. Caps waved. Someone kissed a mechanic. Someone else kissed a Spitfire. You stood still. Not frozen. Just trying to feel it. The war is over. You whispered the words to yourself. And waited for something to shift. It didn't. Not all at once. The days that followed were a blur of celebration and packing. Planes rolled back into storage. Uniforms were folded. New orders came. Reassignments. Releases. Return routes. The base felt like a house being slowly emptied after a long, loud party. You were given papers. A date to report for debriefing. And then a line at the bottom. Service concluded. That was it. No ceremony. No fireworks. Just a signature and a stamp. You're a civilian again. You find yourself back home. Truly home this time. No more returns with a return date. No more keeping the suitcase half packed. The grass is longer than you remember. The road's quieter. The house is the same. But you're not. Not really. You sleep without boots beside the bed now. At first, it's hard. You wake in the night. Heart pounding. Ears straining for sirens. But there are none. Only wind in the trees. The first morning you don't instinctively check the sky as the morning you realize something has shifted. Healing doesn't come all at once. It arrives in pieces. In the ability to sit without fidgeting. To drink tea while it's still hot. To walk into a room without scanning for exits. You plant a garden. Nothing fancy. Just herbs. A few flowers. Tomatoes that try their best. The earth feels strange in your hands, so soft. So forgiving. You dig with care. You water gently. You pull weeds and talk to them. Half joking. Sometimes the dog joins you. Sniffing curiously around the lavender. Some days, the air smells like engine oil and cordite again. But only for a moment. Then the breeze shifts. And it's just rosemary and damp soil. You get letters. Wilkins is training new pilots now. Young lads who'll never have to fire a shot. Griggs bought a bicycle and rides it everywhere. Even in the rain. Tomlinson opened a repair shop and refuses to fix anything with wings. You write back. Not often, but enough. Sometimes you walk to the old airfield. It's quiet now. Grass growing through the cracks in the runway. Hangars half collapsed. One of the old Spitfires sits behind a fence. Rusting slowly. Surrounded by wildflowers. You stand beside it. Rest your hand on the warm metal. It doesn't hum anymore, but you can still feel the memory of the engine. The weight of the sky. You wonder if it misses you too. There's a museum opening soon. They want stories, artifacts, letters. You donate your notebook. Not all of it. Just the pages that matter. Just enough. On the final page, you write, "We were boys in machines pretending not to be afraid. We became men in silence. Now we are people again." And that, somehow, is the hardest flight of all. The ceremony is small. You're asked to speak. You say only this: "I flew. I fought. I came home. But the sky still visits me in dreams. And I let it." People clap softly. Someone cries. You sit. And you feel something, calm. Maybe. Or closure. Or just the beginning of something quieter. So now, you lie in your own bed. The room is warm. The lamp is off. The sounds of the day have faded, leaving only the soft hush of wind through the open window and the rhythmic creak of wood as the house settles. Your hands rest quietly on the sheets. No longer reaching for levers or radios. Just resting. No canopy overhead. Only stars. And they feel different now, no longer distant. No longer watchful. Just gentle. And far away. And peaceful. You exhale. The air is still. The scent of soil drifts in from the garden outside. Lavender. Mint. Rain-dampened rosemary. The dog sighs in his sleep somewhere near your feet. The chair still holds your jacket. Draped and forgotten. And in this silence, you finally feel the truth of it. You made it back. The war didn't take all of you. It changed you. Yes. But it didn't keep you. Your breath deepens. Your muscles loosen. And slowly, with each blink, the years of motion begin to settle. You're not flying anymore. You're landing. Safely. Softly. And the earth is holding you like it always meant to. Just rest now. Just breathe. You're home.